Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Love to Live Healthy Show. I'm Josephine Fitzpatrick, author of Cheat Day Rules, available on Amazon. I am a weight loss nutrition specialist for over 15 years, and I work with thousands of clients all over the world. I own Innovation Healthy Market at 8025 Jericho Turnpike, Woodbury, New York, where for the last 12 years we sell hundreds of prepared meals and snacks. We are open to the public 7 days a week. You do not have to be a client to shop in our store. We have customers from all over Long Island visit our store every day, and we ship tri-state. We also offer free delivery Long Island every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we hand deliver to New York City every Tuesday. We are on Uber Eats 7 days a week. So if you're looking to lose weight or just eat healthy, come and visit our store. Everything is made fresh daily, and we carry everything from high protein, low carb, gluten-free, sugar-free, plant-based vegan, keto, and our famous Detox. Someone is always available to help you at the store. They will hold your hand to help you get what you need, so please do not hesitate to ask them when you walk in. For more information on our store, delivery, shopping, and weight loss, visit our website, innovationhealthymarket.com, or check out our Instagram at Innovation Weight Loss. Today I'm here with Jake Fitzpatrick. Good morning, Jake.
Good morning.
And today's topic is how to not lose muscle while losing weight. What do you think about that?
I think that it's a great topic to talk about, but it's also a very intricate topic that a lot of people get wrong a lot of the time.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah. Mostly whenever people come into the store, the main goal that everybody has in common is that they just want to lose weight, but nobody really takes into consideration, it doesn't seem like anybody really cares about the amount of muscle that they have in relative terms to like how much weight they want to lose.
Exactly.
Because they just say like weight as like the umbrella term, but weight itself is muscle as well as fat.
Right. Well, weight to them means the scale.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that is true. I do find that more men ask me about muscle than women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it does have a big factor. And then when you are weighing yourself, the more muscle you have on your body, the more you're actually going to weigh.
Yeah. And then the thing I remember probably farthest back that I can remember, like one of the first things that you taught me was how you showed me the difference between 1 pound of muscle and 1 pound of fat. And it's because muscle is a lot denser than fat is.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of fat in relative to size of it. As far as, if you look at a pound of muscle, it's actually very small.
It's so small, right?
Yeah, it's so small.
Fat takes up so much room. That's why it doesn't look very pretty. So let's talk about protein, because I think that's one of the biggest things, especially with the detox. A lot of people ask, am I having enough protein in a day to keep my muscle?
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of people don't ask it, but I want them to know it because we do get some questions on it.
Yeah. That's part of the battle, is actually just educating on how important protein is, really. Because, some people even say like the adverse, like when they're doing the detox program, they're like, oh, this is more food than I actually take in one day. And a lot of people even look at the detox saying like, oh, it's just the 3 things, like the drink, the muffin, and the meal. But, a lot of people are like, oh, wow, that's not a lot. But then some others are like, wow, that's more food than I take in a day.
Right.
But the biggest part of that is, you're getting all of the important macronutrients that you need throughout those 3 things. And like you said, too, the importance of protein is, a lot of, I would say women more than men are afraid to up their protein intake because everybody always says, I don't want to be bulky, I don't want to be bulky, but it's just all about how you go about it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I agree. And I do think that, a lot of times what I find with clients and customers, especially, they do things, but they don't really know why they're doing them. They'll be like, oh, well, I need protein, but they don't know why, and I always explain to them, well, remember, you're doing the protein because, first of all, it keeps you full longer. So that's a big help, especially when you're trying to diet. And the second thing is you need to feed your muscles. And, obviously we do focus all our meals on balance. So we want healthy fats. We want healthy carbs. You shouldn't be doing a no carb because you'll have absolutely no energy. But you do always want the higher protein because that really does feed the muscles.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also too, like I would even say, like, it's funny when you think about like, if you're ever at like an Italian family style restaurant, like, and there's a lot of carbs on the table, like pastas and stuff like that. Everybody can always eat more of those because they don't really fill you up the same way that protein does.
That's right.
And you always feel like that disgusting bloated feel after.
Yes.
But, if you ever go out and you have like just like a very like healthy size piece of steak, you eat that one piece of steak and it fills you up quicker than all that pasta does, because you feel like you can
and you
keep
don't
eating.
have that bloat after, which is so great.
Yeah.
I actually tell a lot of my clients that come see me, when they go out to dinner or they go out to social events, I always say, focus on the protein. You really don't need the vegetables at that time. You don't need the salads, because it's just going to make you feel bloated while you're out and you're all dressed. Instead, just have the clean protein, because that's going to fill you.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have that bloated feeling after you eat.
Yeah, or you're just going to be full before your final dinner actually gets
exactly.
to the table.
Yes, right, true, right.
Yeah.
What I do find interesting, too, is when we're talking about protein, how much do you need? I think we have to always remember, because we read so much information that's not correct, and you have to remember when you're trying to lose weight, it's not the protein that you currently need, because that's only going to maintain you. You have to eat the protein of where you're going. So if you're just, say, 200 pounds and you want to be like 180, you're eating for someone that's 180. And the same thing, for a woman who might be like 150 and she wants to be 130. She's eating for someone who's 130.
Exactly.
So you always have to remember, you're not taking in the protein that you currently should be having. It's the protein that where you want your body to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Too. And also for like the opposite side of the spectrum, it's like if a guy comes in and he wants to gain muscle but lose fat. If you're sitting at like a healthy like 190 pounds but you want to gain more muscle, in order to put on more muscle, you need to have the correct statistic is you have to have 1.5 grams actually per. 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight that you actually
gain
gain muscle.
Right,
and then in order to maintain, you need to have 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 180 pounds and you want to maintain the muscle that you have, you need to eat 180 grams of protein per day. But if you want to gain muscle but keep the fat going down, you need to have about 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. So if you weigh about 100,
we don't get too many questions from adding weight.
Yeah. But that's the thing that we talked about, was like just the word like gain. Like nobody wants to gain.
Nobody wants to gain, even if it's muscle.
Yeah.
Pinochle.
I don't think anybody
I can't believe you. They do know what pinochle means.
Nobody knows what pinochle
No,
means.
they do.
Jinx.
I just cannot believe that you've never heard of that. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Shows our age difference.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm totally fine with it.
No, but yeah, I mean, even if you mention the word gain, everybody, But the funny thing was, actually, last week I had somebody in the store that was like, it's funny because they were talking about ounces of protein, and I was like, you don't want to count by ounces.
I know. That's what's so confusing for people.
The ounces is the amount of the specific protein that you have. So for instance, like you said, all
like
of our
muffins
meals are
have
portioned
20.
out. Like for the muffin, it's about a 6-ounce muffin, but there's 20 grams of protein.
Right.
For every meal that you have, would you say like 2-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein is pretty
definitely.
good?
Yes.
So for every meal, like, our pasta with chicken meatballs, like, there's about 5 meatballs in there, but, the protein it's about 6 ounces total of protein. But the protein count equals 35 grams of protein.
Right.
So it's, you want to always... It's funny, though, because a lot of people don't even care. They just come in to see you, and they're like, I don't care. I don't want to know anything. Just tell me how to lose it.
It's just easier. Listen, people are busy in their life, and it's hard to, like, keep track of everything, and it can get confusing. I had a new client in, and she was trying to figure out, like, every detail of everything. She's like, this was before she came to see me, and she just got so overwhelmed. I was like, listen, just follow what I tell you. If you want to lose weight, just follow what I tell you. You lose the weight. And then you could always figure out when you get with your weight loss, where you're at and what you're doing. But right now, it's just so much information,
And then there's some people that don't even have the interest of knowing.
Yes,
they're just
very
like, help
true.
me just lose the weight. That's it. That's all I want. But then you have people like one of our longtime clients that who I'm talking about. Like, they've always just cared about keeping the weight off, but now more recently, like, they're getting an interest in actually working out and stuff like that.
Yes,
so it's become
and gaining
it's funny
the
how
muscle.
you get like an accidental.
I think also that comes with age, because I feel like she's really even honestly like, and I've said this, like I don't. I always worked out, but I was primarily runner. But now I love the whole physical part with the weights, and she really turned me on to like just hearing her talk about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds so good. I used to do so much more of that when I was younger, when really now I should be doing it more than ever. But it is. I love it. And she looks amazing. She's doing great.
It's true, though, because like even when I was in high school and I was just concerned with like just getting bigger overall, like I would just eat anything that was in like sight, you know, just because I was trying to put on just mass in general.
Right.
Like whether it be like, you know, a dirty bulk or like, you know, just even if it was just, I just wanted more mass on my body. But now that I'm older, I realize like the importance of like, you know, lean meats, and there's a difference between like lean mass and then, you know, what they call like a dirty bulk, which is like, you know, there's some muscle under the fat, but
right,
you just look bigger in general.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's like a, I guess, is that what they call it, a dirty bulk?
It's a dirty bulk, yeah. So if you do
First,
like,
I thought you were talking about a meal. I was like, I've never heard of that. But I get it, yeah. It's like when I say skinny fat.
Yeah,
like someone's really thin, but they have like no muscle.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're saying it's basically the opposite. They're really,
much,
they're
because
heavy.
when you're in the gym so much, you want to do a dirty bulk to put on as much mass as you can. But then when you want to cut, then you keep the same amount of muscle that you had, but you're just trimming off the fat.
Okay.
So then it's like what's underneath, you know.
Isn't it so much easier just to from the beginning, just to eat healthy and work out?
Yeah, but
then
it's
you just
harder
have
for
like
some
a leaner
people to put on
tone
muscle. So then sometimes they need the dirty calories, even if it is just like bad food, you know. And somebody has a hard time gaining weight because they have such a fast metabolism, like me.
Yeah.
Like when I was little, I could eat anything.
I know.
I wouldn't even gain an ounce.
But I feel like even some of the kids that work in our store have that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're kind of thin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that is funny, like people that want to do the detox and you look at them and then you're like, you need to eat more.
Yeah, right. I know. I know. It's so true.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're like, no, not a good idea for you. You don't need to lose weight.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you need to gain weight.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Well, I would say, you know what? One thing I do want to also talk about, which I think is such a great idea. If you feel like you are lacking in protein, okay, and you are, you know, doing weight loss during the week, and obviously when you're trying to lose weight, you can only eat so much because you won't lose, regardless, because everything is caloric. So, and especially protein. So what you can do, and I do tell clients to do this, is if you're doing the detox during the week or you're sticking to your program during the week, then maybe just like protein load on the weekends.
Yeah.
Like have extra on the weekend and just like focus on cleaner proteins. Don't overeat on the weekend. But if you are going to have extra, have more clean protein in your weekend just to like make up for what you feel like you were lacking during the week.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about this too when we had the episode about the detox, explaining it. Like one of the biggest questions that we get is, you know, like, can I still do physical activity while I'm on the detox? And like, is it smart? Because obviously people feel like they're eating less, but you need to, you know, break down like and look at the blueprint of what you're actually eating.
Right.
Because, you know, there's two things that happen. Like people do fasted cardio and they don't have anything.
I do it all the time.
You know, and like people ask the same question of like, oh, well, I have the same energy level while I work out though. And of course, you know, the answer is maybe not, maybe. But, you know, when people carb load before a workout, they do so then they have an excess of energy for that workout. But then there's also carb depletion where people have a less amount of carbs, but they still work out the same. And it's all about just the.
I just think it's individual because I could never have carbs like that before a workout. It wouldn't make me work out better.
Yeah.
It would actually make me feel sick.
Yeah.
But I do fasted cardio all the time, and I feel like I have so much energy. And we do have so many people who do that now since I did that last episode, and they love it. They feel like they have so much more energy. But even when they're on the detox, they'll say, I'm not hungry all day. But and then they go on a regular day, and they're starving like 2 hours in, you know? So I think a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is...
It's all mental.
Yeah, it's mental. But it also, I do think there's something to be said for just thinking that this is the way it's supposed to be. It's almost like I always tell everyone, you know, there's no such thing as like you have to have breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Like that's such an old school way of thinking, but it's what you were taught. Same thing with eating before a workout or eating after a workout or carb loading or, you know, a lot of times you have to go with what your body can do and handles and how it feels its best.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, it's okay. Don't be afraid to take in less. Don't be afraid to be a little hungry because you remember if you are trying to lose weight, you need to feel that hunger. That shows you that you're losing weight. That shows you that you're taking in less than what you normally would. That's why you feel the hunger. It's a normal process, and you're supposed to feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, too, I always make this joke. It's like, I don't know why it was, you know, scientifically set up this way, but when your body goes into that catabolic state, it actually retorts to, you know, using your muscle as a nutrient before the fat.
Right.
Which in a perfect world, your body would eat the fat first and
Right.
keep the muscles, and then everybody would be skinny and shredded. But the funny thing is like it actually eats the muscle first because
I didn't know that.
yeah,
I never heard of
it's-
that.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's why it bothers me so much. But
Oh.
like the thing is,
Because
too-
normally what
yeah.
happens is when you're negative, your body feeds off its fat
Mm,
unless you have more muscle.
yeah,
Then obviously if you don't have a lot of fat.
yeah, yeah. But even like when people do the detox, it's like, it's people find, like you said, like, they struggle when they go back to their regular like habit routine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just mentally easier for people to have like 1, 2, 3, like that structure throughout the day.
Right, right.
To say like, okay, it's only these 3 things and nothing else. Because when you don't do that, it
Absolutely.
like gives you room to think, and it's
Mhm.
like, oh, this is too much, this is too little.
Yes.
Like, oh, I didn't eat enough,
Absolutely.
And then it's like more area to.
I
slip
also
up.
think that when you say that, I think it's we go back to the mental mindset of like, okay, once you start eating, your body immediately gets hungry for the rest of the day. That's why I even tell people, don't start so early. Even when you're doing the detox, push it off till later, because have your water, have your coffee or your tea, whatever you do, but drink your water through the day and then have your detox, because that's going to really help you mentally, like, get through the rest of the day. But once you start eating, you always feel hungry immediately after. It's known. It's just a mental mindset that like, okay, I'm eating, and now you want to just keep eating.
Yeah.
You know?
And also too, it's interesting because, like we were talking about before, like in a catabolic state, you were right, because it's only to a point though. Because if your body has the excessive muscle, it'll actually use the muscle first. Because when your fat is using, it's all glycogen storage. So the glycogen that's stored in your fat, your body will retort to that after it's already used the muscle. So it's nice, but it's not ideal,
Yeah.
But
Well, I think the bottom line is when you're trying to lose weight, you have to take in less, and your body will basically feed itself from, that's just how you lose weight. But you have to be in the gym. You have to do your cardio. You have to eat less overall, and you have to be okay with being hungry,
yeah.
Which kind of like is another great thing about the detox, just because, we're talking about it. It's you really aren't hungry on it.
No. I mean, that's what everybody says. Everybody's always so like terrified to start it because they think they're going to be starving.
Right.
But then, people will do their first week of it, and then they'll come back the next week and be like, oh, can I do it again? It was actually not as bad as I thought.
Right. Yeah.
And, yeah.
It's crazy.
But the interesting thing is too, like, not to go back and forth, but like when we were talking about before, like the fat and muscle, like what it burns first. It's funny because when I was doing the research on it, there's 2 ways to go about it. If you're doing it right or if you're doing it wrong, like we're saying. So if you're taking in the right amount of protein per day. So if you're actually doing it the right way and you have a controlled deficit and you have strength training included and eating enough protein, your body will preserve the lean muscle and go for the fat first. Most energy would then come from the body fat that you have stored, like the glycogen levels. If you're doing it wrong and you have a bigger deficit with lower protein, not including strength training or cardio, and you're having more carbs and more unhealthy fats throughout the day, your body will start breaking down muscle tissue to use that for amino acids that will fuel your body.
Right.
And then this would lead to muscle loss, slower metabolism.
That's very true.
Poor
Now that
performance,
100%
and then
I
an
agree
increased
with.
amount of inflammation. and stuff.
That usually happens with people that are living on carbs.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they don't take in the protein.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Even they don't take in healthy fats as much. They take in bad fats.
Yeah.
So basically they're junk food eaters, and they're working out, and they're basically breaking down their muscle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And then also too, like, it's interesting because like there's a lot of misconceptions that come with like, having a lot of protein, like we were talking about, because like I said earlier, like everybody is always like, no, I don't want to be bulky, But
yeah.
like,
Right.
you're not going to be bulky off of having, 30 grams of protein in a day.
Right. Yeah.
It's
no, definitely
it's part
not.
of the hurdle of like
Yeah.
just educating on how important it is for it to be like part of your regular routine.
Absolutely.
Like you're not going to be a bodybuilder overnight.
No, you're not.
Like you're not going to
Exactly.
be like a man. Like if you're trying to look like very feminine, very girly, like you're not going to look like a man if you have like a high protein meal.
Exactly.
And that's That's part of the
You're
biggest
just going to
thing.
feel better.
Yeah,
too.
you're going to feel better.
Yeah, I agree.
And then
That's
if you
very
go to
true.
your hot yoga or you go to your workouts and stuff with your friends, you're just going to see results quicker. That's all it is. Yeah.
It's funny that you even say that because even with the keto, like that was always a big thing. And it's so funny because we go back to like they just care about losing weight.
Yep.
They don't care about what they're doing because with the keto, it's all protein.
Yep.
And it's also a lot of fats, healthy and unhealthy fats. But that was so bad for your body because you didn't have any carbs. So it was so hard on your kidneys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we still have people who do it because they just love it and they love that whole mentality and that diet, and that's fine. It works for people, but the key is that it's too much protein without any healthy carbs is not great.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you have to let your muscles like recover, you also have to let everything internally recover
exactly,
as well.
yes.
Because if you're, I think it's 40 grams of protein, right? Like you can only digest or use properly 40 grams of protein per every 2 hours or something.
I think it's 20.
20, yeah. And that's even more. So, the key is you're putting your kidneys and your liver through so much stress that it might look good on the outside, but you're, internally you have to worry about the same things.
Right, right. And we talk about that all the time. Everything looks good on the outside, but you got to do it from the inside out.
Yep. That's why you'll never see a shake in like in a store or anything like a vitamin shop. You'll never see a shake be over 42 grams because everybody wants to keep it below that because you're not supposed to have more than that one sitting. Yeah.
That's very true. And even when you're trying to lose weight, that's what I tell everyone, that's why don't have so much in one meal because your body has to break it down,
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's harder for people that are already have a higher weight because it just, if you're, 120 pounds, 130 pounds, 150 pounds, it's easy to hit that mark throughout the day because if you think about it, you have 3 or 4 meals or 3 meals, 1 snack and, 30 grams of protein per meal, you're already hitting 110 easily. Yeah, right. Without even thinking about it. But again, if you want to gain muscle, it becomes a little bit harder because you got to throw in some extra, maybe a shake in between the meals and stuff. But
and you got to do that without gaining fat.
Yeah,
which
and then
is
at the same time
hard.
You're working out, so you're burning more than you're actually taking in.
Yeah, and if you're not working out, then you
and
really
if you're
got
not
an
working
issue.
out, then you got an issue. It's just all being stored. Yeah.
So well, I think this is great information for everyone because it has been a question, and I think the bottom line is that we know that you can do the detox. You have sufficient protein. Your body feels good. You are not hungry, and you can exercise.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Right? Those are always the questions that we get.
No, absolutely. And just like the misconceptions about it too. It's muscle is like a metabolic armor almost because it's so hard to build, but it's very easy to lose.
Right.
It's very easy to be turned into fat and unwanted weight. And, it burns more calories when you're actually at rest while
Which
you're
is
recovering.
So great.
Grows more when you're at rest while recovering. And then at the same time, it helps, so many other things that we've talked about with the inflammation. It helps protect your joints. It helps when later on in life with older age and everything. It helps you feel better too.
Right, yeah.
And, just on top of it,
because you lose muscle so quickly.
Yeah,
not
even physically too. Just mentally, it feels better too.
Yeah. I have a question for you before we end. Women always worry that they're going to grow muscle and be this big, thick women because if they're going to the gym and they're doing heavy weights.
Yeah.
Why doesn't that happen?
When they start upping the protein and doing weights.
Well, if you're doing the you have the sufficient protein and you're lifting weights, even heavy weights. Women don't they just don't get to the size of men.
No, and it's mainly
and they're always afraid they're going to, and I'm it's not going to happen unless you have fat over it.
It's mainly just because, and this is all about the fat and muscle as well as with the difference between the testosterone and the estrogen.
True.
So women, of course, just naturally have more estrogen than men do, and men have more testosterone than estrogen, and they have more testosterone than women do. So obviously, women retain fat easily easier than men do.
They're gonna love you for saying that. It's so true,
It's a
and
tough
they always say
it's a
it.
tough pill to swallow, because when the couples always come in and do the detox too, the husbands are always high-fiving me and the wives are always mad at me. So it's because the husband loses 9 pounds and the wife loses 4 or 5.
Right, exactly.
And I'm like, it's just how it is. It's not, I didn't make it that way. It's just how it is.
Exactly.
And because of the estrogen levels, women retain fat better. So they lose fat harder.
Right.
That's how it works. And, even when they work out more, you can work out more than a man does. But, it's like when I first started working out, there was something called, it's called newbie gains. So like when you first shock the muscle, like the first time in your life, your muscle is going to be like, oh my God, this is so new. And it's going to respond like that.
Right.
So because you already have that excess of testosterone more than a woman does, it's going to respond super quick. So because a woman has more estrogen than they do testosterone, more estrogen than a man does, it's just going to be a slower period of time for it to actually respond the right way. So you're not
get
gonna,
rid of the fat on top of it.
Exactly. So overnight, you're not going to turn into this, very bulky person. It's just going to make you more toned, if anything, because it's actually funny because it's going to help them more than they think.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today.
Yeah, but thank you for listening, and remember to please stop in at Innovation at 8025 Jericho Turnpike, Woodbury, New York, or you could visit our website, innovationhealthymarket.com, or call the store, 516-802-5055. We're open 7 days a week. Are always there to help you with your shopping, orders, weight loss needs. When you come in, ask for me, Jake. I'll be happy to show you around the store. Or if you're looking for a one-on-one plan, I can make your first free consultation appointment with Josephine. If anybody has anything specific that they want us to talk about or want us to touch on or want to know more about just in general, whether you're a client, whether you're an avid store shopper, or if you've never even been in the store before or just a listener, if you want to hear us talk about anything specific, you can always let us know and reach out to us on our social media. And we'll be sure to include it.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.